We are setting up for today. Any stability? Well, we are expecting to see a flat line for the S&P 500, a faint amount of green on the Nasdaq. The Dow expected just to tilt a little bit lower. So it is very cautious still at this hour, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely stunning 24 hours on these markets. Donald Trump said the DeepSeek drama should be a wake-up call to the US tech companies after claims it cost only $6 million to produce. Its latest AI model put US companies' mammoth capex under fresh scrutiny. Trump told reporters he sees the low-cost model as a positive development. That is fascinating. The Trump reaction is so fascinating. He didn't have a go at China. He didn't say that it's a threat. He said it's a positive development. That is extraordinary, since it could mean less spending is needed to get the same solution. I mean, think about it. 99% of the companies we talk about on a regular basis, they don't make AI stuff, they buy AI stuff. Think about it. It's amazing for most companies. But in claims CNBC has been unable to verify, Alexander Wang, who is the founder and CEO of Scale AI, accused DeepSeek of violating US export controls.
What we found is that DeepSeek, which is the leading Chinese AI lab, their model is actually the top performing, or roughly on par with the best American models. My understanding is that DeepSeek has about 50,000 H100s, which they can't talk about, obviously, because it is against the export controls that the United States has put in place. And I think it is true that, I think they have more chips than other people expect, but also on a go-forward basis, they are going to be limited by the chip controls and the export controls that we have in place.
Do you remember when OpenAI was worth $157 billion? Okay, just reminding you. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has welcomed the DeepSeek release. Really? Really? Have you, Sam? Have you really welcomed it? I don't believe that. But anyway, you've welcomed it, describing the model as impressive in a social media post. Altman said OpenAI will accelerate some upcoming releases, pledging to deliver better models. He also appeared to push back on expectations that future models would need less computing power, saying, quote, more compute is more important now than ever before. Speaking to CNBC, an NVIDIA spokesperson praised DeepSeek as an AI advancement, saying it showed how new models could be created using chips that comply with US export curbs. Anthropic co-founder Jack Clark said in a blog post that the development would make AI controls more difficult, with global capabilities taking a, quote, one-way ratchet forward. Arjun joins us, and we've got a great guest sitting next to you as well in a few moments' time. But there's so many positive things to say about this. Not if you're an NVIDIA shareholder, not if you're a shareholder of companies that have spent vast amounts of money trying to put a more expensive product out there. But in terms of what it means for the democratization of AI, for the vast number of people who are going to have to adopt it, surely this is good news.
It is, Steve. If you'll indulge me for a couple minutes, just to make 3 points.
As long as you like. We can spend half an hour on this chat if you like.
Well, just 3 points to your point. I think 3 themes, because these are themes that I think are going to impact the investment case here for AI. The first one, the commoditization of AI models. The second, China's strength and importance of open source. And third, the shift in focus from bigger and bigger and bigger models to a term called test time computing. Let me just very quickly dig into these. The commoditization of AI models is something we spoke through all of last year, and all the AI folks I spoke to said, look, the model will not be as important,
could be there as well.
And the Chinese could be there. The model's not going to be as important as the applications, but on top of it, effectively, they'll all become commoditized, and there'll be a handful of very good models, some for certain purposes, some for others, and we're beginning to see that really become reality here with what DeepSeek is doing. The second, China's strength and the importance of open source. For a long time, how far was China behind? How far was China behind? Not that far behind. They were there. They have been for a long time. It wasn't a surprise. I remember when ChatGPT came out, it wasn't a surprise that all of a sudden, just 2-3 months later, all the big Chinese tech companies had AI models ready to go. Wow. They were there. They were working on them. They have been investing. They were not that far behind. And importantly, open source. OpenAI and others are going for these closed kind of models. The Chinese have opted for open source, effectively allowing their source code to be released and built upon, and this has often spurred innovations in this category as well. One of the big developments that's happened over the last couple of days is Hugging Face, the biggest repository of AI models, saying it's looking to recreate the DeepSeek R1 model to validate it.
Because
and then,
it's open source.
Because it's open, and then we may get an idea of the cost, the true cost of it. And just the final point, the shift in focus from these bigger and bigger and bigger models with more and more and more compute to a method in AI known as test time compute. This shift from big training to now almost allowing the same amount of compute but giving the models time to think, kind of like a human, going through different paths to arrive at an answer. So you may see when you use these so-called reasoning models that you may offer a prompt and it might just take that bit longer to get the answer because they're not actually going to add more compute. They're using existing capacity to come up with an answer. And so that's the big tech shift.
Just 30 seconds. We haven't mentioned the geopolitics here because we know there have been chip export controls, sending high-end chips to China. But DeepSeek also stores information on servers in China. So how does this impact the geopolitics around technology?
Well, it's open source, which makes it a lot more difficult, I think, to put those restrictions on the model itself. But certainly the hardware restrictions could come, again, back in focus.